Good evening, UK Crime Book Club. Oh, I've been reading Charlotte Levin's book this week and I'm delighted to introduce her. Charlotte, say hello to our lovely members.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on here.
We've been really excited to have you. So, give us a little introduction to If I Can't Have You.
Okay, so it's about a young woman called Constance Little, and she's kind of fled Manchester for London after her mother's death. But she's quite I'd say, fragile, vulnerable person, and with a sort of secret, as often there is. And she meets a doctor at the private medical practice where she works, and she is completely taken with him, and they have start to have a relationship, and so she's very happy it's reciprocated, and then he ends it, and the whole book is basically her developing obsession, her inability to let it go, but so she essentially becomes a stalker. But I wouldn't say it's like classic stalker story, because I tried to make it realistic, so it was like how someone could genuinely become a stalker. And it sounds like she's the baddie in the book, but it's debatable who is.
It's definitely debatable, yeah. She doesn't come across as a baddie. It all kind of follows on in a natural progression without, kind of giving things away. It is beautifully written, and Constance, and I know people know her as Connie throughout as well. She's a really lovely girl. So
Yeah,
how difficult is it to balance the two sides?
well, the thing is, most normal people do bad things every day in the world. Not everyone's like a psychopath that commits crimes or does things. And so basically it was a real synergy of situations that if she wasn't going through what she was going through, and she didn't meet someone like Samuel, who is how he is, which isn't very good, then you wouldn't have that sort of combination. So I did that so it could kind of naturally progressed in that way. And when I started writing it, I have a thing about good people doing bad things. It's quite fascinating to me. So I wanted the reader to root for her, even if it's like, don't do that because it's not good. But ultimately I wanted her to be somebody that the reader rooted for, or at least empathized with on a level.
Well, before we went live, I was saying how I feel like reading it. It was like I'm sat with a friend who's telling me the story. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do in itself, when you just completely lose yourself in that way and you feel like it's your friend going through these things. Good and bad as well. She's a good person.
Yeah, I know she is, and she does. And I think one of the things about it is that even though the average person wouldn't do the things she's done, most people have I have anyway, kind of felt that feeling of having our hearts broken and feeling a bit out of control and being messed around with someone, and our heads messed around. And so I think it's like, on one level we can totally get her, but then obviously she kind of crosses lines that
she does ramp it up a bit. Yeah,
I promise it's not autobiographical.
Moving on. I wanted to talk about your writing process and how you write, but I also wanted to ask if you had a moment when you were writing where everything that was going to happen kind of fell into place for you.
Ooh, that's interesting. I don't plot, but I do know what the story is. So not what happens, but what it's about. And I think once I got a grasp of that, so in the beginning, I sort of did plot, where I had to kind of map out my next 3 chapters, because otherwise I'd never know what I was doing. I didn't want to go off into tangents, because I had written this book 10 years ago, or a version of the book. Literally the only thing that is the same is the basic premise and her name, but it's completely different. It's just awful, and I wrote it from scratch. So I set out the 3, but then as I got into it, I didn't need to do that. It kind of, I don't want to say wrote itself, because that sounds awful, and I'm not having the same situation with my next book, but it did become quite natural what happens next, if you know what I mean. Which hopefully sort of shows in the plot as well, because everything does have a natural progression as to what happens. I never had to think up something fantastical to do. Though I did write myself into a massive corner, which I don't think I will tell about. But yeah, no, I did from the beginning.
You can tell me afterwards.
I will tell you. Yeah, so I'm not a plotter. I wouldn't say I'm a complete pantser either. So it's like I have to know what the point is. I got all the things like, what does my character, what is the sort of driving force of the whole book, and I tried not to deviate from that. So there were things in place, but I didn't know what happened in each scene before doing it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Caroline Maston, who is the other half of the author chat team, has said hello to us, and what's it like being a debut author in this awful year?
Oh, well, it's very weird. It's very weird. I mean, I don't know, because I've not been a debut author in a normal year, but I should imagine it's weird, whatever, being a debut author. It's a very strange thing to be, to have a dream and then it's just, it's happened. That's a very strange thing. But being in this year, I mean, for me personally, I had 2 things that, as a sort of aspiring author you hold on to, and one is like your launch party, and the other is going to see your book in Waterstones or in a shop, and I've not been able to do either. So it's been quite disappointing, and it's hard. I think it's been hard for debuts because shops are shut, were shut initially, and people aren't shopping in the same way that they were, and that's okay if you're kind of a known name, because people just know that, can see that your next book's coming out. So I think it has been possibly harder, but I've not got anything to compare it to, but it has been a bit surreal.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
So what are your plans for once you can have a launch? What are your plans for it?
I mean, it depends what happens in my paperback's out in February, and I was wondering whether I could do something then, but I don't know. I'm not going anywhere until things are a lot better than they are now. But we'll see. That would be lovely if I have at least a little party of some sort. But it's doubtful. But we'll see. Hopefully, the next book I'll have something.
So, can you tell us anything about the next book yet? Or is it too soon?
I can tell you that the difficult second novel isn't a fallacy. It's been really difficult. Mainly because I have lived. I mean, Constance particularly. I was so in her head. When you said it's like a friend, it was like I think I became Constance for that time, and it was very hard to let her go, and to then suddenly you're writing another character. It's a very kind of strange thing. So it has been quite hard to get started, but I think I've just turned a corner. Fingers crossed. But again, it's not as thrillery, the next one, but it still has the same element of a good person doing a bad thing. So it's obviously a theme with me.
Sounds good already.
Yeah. So I haven't worked out how to talk about it yet without giving it all away. I'll have to work out.
That's fair enough.
work out a log line or something. So I don't do that, but I haven't done that yet. But I've started. That's all I can say.
Fair enough. She also wants to know, Caroline, we've just done What Are You Working On at the moment? Somebody's asked, how difficult is it writing in the first person? It just comes up as Facebook user, so I'm not sure who that's from.
I find it easy to write in the first person if you've got a character that is easy to write in the first person. I found writing Constance quite easy. The next book, because I've written Constance in the first person, I was finding it difficult to kind of leave her behind. So I'm writing this one now as it stands in third person present, because of that I wanted to sort of separate the two a bit. But I personally do enjoy writing in the first person, but there has to be a reason for it. And I think the book would not have been the book had it not been in the first person, and from her point of view, that is what makes that particular story. So it's, I suppose it depends, you know, what story it is you're telling, but for that one, I think it needed to be first person. I don't think it would have worked had it not been.
I think I'd agree. I think that's what makes it feel like you sat listening to your friend tell a story. You know, It is like you're having a conversation with the book.
Yeah, exactly. And there's the whole letter element as well. So, you know, it kind of has to be in first person, because it's a very, the whole book is addressed to the object of her affection, Samuel. So she refers to you when she's talking about him, which she's talking about him a lot of the time. So you need that intimacy, and without doing that, I think it would have lost quite a lot. I think that's what makes it quite intense, because it's almost like she's talking to you, the reader, in a sense.
Yeah, that's exactly how it comes across. So TG, one of our authors, TK Gearing, has asked, did you write anything at an early age?
Did I write anything? I did, but not because I was into writing. I was really into acting. And so I'd, like at school, everyone always wanted to be in my group, because they'd have, in drama class, there'd be big productions. So everyone just did their thing. With mine, it was like we had costumes and everything. So I used to write little plays or sketches, but only so I had a good or funny part. It was never to do with the writing. It was always to do with the acting. So I did, and then that's almost like how I got into writing, because I used to do acting, and I did a course at the Royal Court when I was quite young, my early 20s, and I did the same thing. So we had to do like an end of course, like show thing, and I wrote this scene, and the creative director at the time sent a message to my tutor to say, tell her to keep writing. And I hadn't really thought about it at that point. It was purely a means to play a part at that point. So I can't say I did start always want, you know, lots of authors always wanted to write, but I can't say that was me.
So you live in Manchester at the moment. Have you always lived in Manchester?
No, well, I'm from here, Salford. I mean, I was born in Blackpool.
Snap.
Yeah, exactly.
How funny that we're having an interview about a mile away from each other.
It's very weird. We'll have to, when this is all over, we need to get a cup of tea or something.
We do. Yeah. And a live interview together.
Yeah, definitely. But and then when I was 19, I went to school in Poynton. So I moved around a fair bit, but I'm from Salford. Like my family, my grandparents are from Salford, and then moved to Poynton for a bit. And then when I was 19, I moved to London, and then I came back here in 2013 when my mum got cancer, and I just dropped everything and came back, and ever since. So yes, I returned home. It was weird at first. It's okay, getting used to it.
Yeah, I've done that. I moved away for a while with my husband travelling, and when we came back, it is a bit odd when you first come back, definitely.
Where did you go
Yeah.
to?
Oh, Cyprus and Germany and Yorkshire as well. So
In Yorkshire.
all within 5 years, then moved back here. So yeah, kept us busy for a while.
Yeah, I can imagine. But,
So, how did you come up with Constance? Did the idea come from her, or did she come from the idea?
I think she came from the idea. I knew I wanted to do something about someone who becomes a stalker, and then I had to think about who would do that without being just a psycho that usually portrays.
No idea. I don't know if we just cut out members, but we'll carry on from where we were. So I was
Oh, right.
asking you.
Okay,
I was asking you about whether Constance came from the plot or the plot came from Constance. So let's go from there.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I think that. Well, I know that I had the idea, and then I had to think who would that happen to, because as I said earlier, like I did not want it to be just like psycho stalker woman. It had to be realistic and someone who the reader would sympathize with. So who is that person? Yeah, so the idea came first, and what I was about to say when it all went a bit weird, and I don't know if we cut off, is that I'm a big believer in, for the sort of books I write anyway, the character is plot, because I think when I first did Constance, I was doing like a checklist and like, oh, she can be this, and oh, just sort of writing things. But I think to make that plot work, she had to be sort of completely fully formed, sort of. I had to know all the psychological things that would go wrong to make her like that. So the idea came first, but she's sort of integral to the plot.
Caroline's just asked if we can see their questions. Got a couple more here. Kaz wants to know, would you make a graphic novel of your work? She loves that question. It's one of her favourites.
I've never thought about it. I don't know whether it would transfer that well, because it's quite a slow burner in a way, isn't it? I mean, if someone offered me, I'd love to. I like art.
Snatch your hand off.
Yeah, so I definitely would do it, but I haven't considered it before this moment.
She loves throwing that question in. She's a big fan of graphic novels. Can't say I've really read much. So,
no, I've read a couple.
Yeah, not really sure. She's asking, you're part of the debut novel massive with Emma Christie. How is that helping, and how do you find social media as an author in general?
Well, the debut thing, we started. Emma joined the group, and she's done this festival, which is amazing. And she's so proactive and a powerhouse in herself. But we started this group because of COVID, really, and I don't know. There's a group called Savvies. I don't know whether you know, on Facebook, for authors, and then we kind of
don't know that one.
Yeah, so it's for published authors, and it's great, and you get to ask questions because no one really knows what's going on even when you're published. And then we did a breakout. So I think it was Polly Crosby who did the breakout initially, and we've really bonded, and we meet on Zoom on Fridays and things, because it's a really weird thing being published, and so it's really great that we've supported each other, and we're big fans of each other, and it's really nice, basically. And I'm not sure whether it would have happened to the extent it has had it not been for COVID. So that is a nice thing that's come out of it, really.
There has to be some nice things coming out of it, so that's really great to hear.
Thing, like, in the scheme of things, but
it's just a lovely thing, that's nice. You should have lovely things going on, even during the hardest times. Yeah.
Because we probably would have had the group, because I think other people have had the group, but the sort of we've bonded more because we've Zoomed and things like that. But we can't wait to meet. I think we'll hopefully all meet at some point.
That'd be, that's really lovely.
And in terms of social media, sorry, I mean, I got my agent via Twitter, so it's been quite important to me, I guess. So.
How about for publicity?
Well, I mean, at this time, that's all we've got, really. I mean, I spend far too much time on Twitter, so I've got a little bit of following, not following, but I've got a few followers.
Well, I'm one of them, so I see all the things that you've
so I do, I put things on Twitter and stuff, and I mean, it's essential right now. Otherwise, goodness knows, because you can't really do much else than social media. So it is a very helpful tool indeed at the moment.
I wondered about your Twitter handle. Is there a story behind that?
Or Tiny Charlotte? Just that I'm really short, Samantha.
How short, Charlotte? Let's have a short off.
Short off. I'm 5'1".
You're taller than me. I'm 5 foot.
Are you? Oh.
I'll be at tiny size.
Finally, I like finding people I'm taller than. It's a rarity, but very exciting when it happens.
I work in a primary school, and almost all of the kids in the juniors are as tall as me, at least.
Oh wow!
Something I've come to terms with since being younger. My children aren't quite as happy at being short, but they're just going to have to get used to it, aren't they? They're not going to be tall.
I like being small. Best things coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to get the most piggybacks as a kid. So that's all I can say to my kids. Let's, you'll be okay. You get the most piggybacks. It's fine. That's all I've got. Right, let's move on to some more of the questions. Pat has asked, Pat Adams writes, she's another one of our author members, and she's an absolute diamond. She's lovely. What prompted you to your choice for a stalker type novel?
I think it was because I wanted to do the kind of almost opposite to a stalker type novel, if you know what I mean. I wanted to take something that's been done loads and brilliantly, but turn it on its head a little bit, really, and do it. Because there was always the whole thing with like Fatal Attraction, and I remember like
I've still never actually seen it.
Have you never seen it?
I'm aware of a certain scene that gets mentioned, over and over again in conversations, but I've still never seen it.
It's a great film. It is a brilliant film. But at the start of the film, he has his wife goes out of town and he has an affair, and that's Glenn Close. And obviously, she's not happy that it's not going to progress. But then, he still did have an affair. He's like, the whole film is like, oh, poor Michael Douglas, who's had an affair. I'm not saying that, she wasn't crazy. But it's just the idea of, there are, I just wanted it to be more realistic, that wouldn't be crazy. And also, obviously, the character of Samuel, a lot of people think he gets what he not necessarily deserves in what she does, but they don't feel for him as a victim, put it that way. I don't know, did you, or how do you feel about Samuel?
I don't know what word I can use on camera. Let's say I thought he was a bit of an arse. I'll go that far, but he was who he was, so it wasn't like he didn't mean to cause the pain that he caused. It just didn't occur to him that that's what he was doing.
And that's the thing that I wanted to do as well, because what I really wanted to do was make everyone quite realistic, and I didn't want him just to be like a out and out. Again, I don't know what words I can use, but you get the
You
gist.
can use any. You don't work in a primary school.
Oh right, okay. Oh God, don't give me that license. Will you have the group pulled? But I wanted him. I personally felt that Samuel, like her, was kind of doing. I mean, he was a narcissist as well, but he was almost doing his best with what tools he had as a person. You know, so he was oblivious a lot of the time to what he did. Doesn't make it okay, but because he's as dysfunctional as she is. But I don't think he set out to be awful.
Yeah.
He just was.
He just was. He just didn't know any different. That's who he was. And he seemed, he's a nice guy as well. You know, he's not just this ass. You know, he is a nice guy. But I need to stop. I can't say anything. Stop him right there. So Kaz has just messaged me saying that the interview has gone down, but she can still hear me. So let's. I don't know if we're actually still on camera or anything at the moment. So.
Okay, and neither of us on camera.
Well, I can see you and hear you, and you can see me and hear me. So I'm just asking Kaz, how about now? So how about for a minute we give everyone a quick recap. I'll hold mine up. Have you got yours?
I have, yes.
With its, I know, twins, book twins, yay. So give everyone a recap in case we have gone off, and it'll be a good catch up for the people who are there.
Oh, right. Okay, what about the book again, you mean? Okay.
So let's sell some copies.
Okay, wow. Okay, so it's about a young woman called Constance Little, and she's left Manchester for London following her mother's death. And she meets a doctor at a private medical practice where she works, and she's completely taken with him, and they start a relationship, and she thinks she's found happiness, and he ends the relationship. And it's basically her descent into obsession and stalking, and it's all from her point of view, basically.
I'm getting good feedback now that we can be seen and heard, so thank you for letting us know. Brilliant. So Pat Adams-Wright has also asked, which route did you take for submission, via an agent or direct to the publisher? So I know you got an agent. Was that the first thing that you tried to do?
Yeah, I mean, but it was not an easy ride. I initially sent the manuscript out, I think it was 2017, and I made the rookie mistake of sending it out too early. So I had 3 good chapters, and then people were like, we want to read this, and then I sent them a really rubbish book. So that wasn't really finished. So I went through all that. Got loads of, I ruined my chances with a lot of agents by sending it out too early. And then I had someone interested, and then I rewrote it completely from scratch again, did a whole new draft, and then I resubmitted it, and then I got quite a bit of interest again, but I could feel it was more concrete interest. And then I put on Twitter, not for this reason, but I just put on Twitter that I was excited because I'd had 4 full requests in like 2 days or something. And then my agent messaged me, who happened to follow me, and said, can I have a read? And she did, and we got on, and it was still out with other people, but I thought, what am I waiting for? I really clicked with her and went with her. So it was a bit of a weird one in the end after all that. But I did 32 submissions. It had 32 rejections rather.
Yeah.
So it wasn't an easy thing to do, but I got there in the end. And the main reason why I was getting rejections as well was because they were saying how it doesn't fit snugly into a genre.
Yeah, but I quite like that about it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I wasn't prepared. That's the one thing. I mean, I was really flexible with wanting to work. You know, I was happy to do rewrites, work hard on it, do anything. But the one thing I wasn't prepared to do was to make it something that I wasn't, well, hadn't set out to write.
Yeah.
You know, and if it meant not getting published, if it meant not getting an agent, then I was, well, I wasn't, you know, I was upset by it, but I was happy with it then just making it, you know, have, I mean, in psychological thrillers, that, you know, a lot more twists and things are expected, I think, and and I just wasn't prepared to change what I was doing. That was the one unmovable thing.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't.
No, I really am as well. And even Jo, when my agent, when she called me on our first phone conversation, she was like, you know, it's not really a lot of twists and stuff. And I said, well, and I explained what I was trying to achieve. And then she was like, okay, oh, we've got a cat. I'm sorry.
No, go for it. The members love the cats.
Cat tail.
Hello. We have a tail.
Just a tail.
Who does the tail belong to?
Like a big baby. Sorry.
What's the cat's name?
Mac.
Mac.
McFly. He was my mum. My mum died, and this was her cat, and he was called McFly. Is called McFly, but I didn't name him.
Oh no, the members love it when pets join us.
Right. Oh.
Cats and dogs. Not so much a fan of the kids in the background, but the cats and dogs, yeah. So how long do you think the book took you to write from start to finish? I know there were gaps in between, but overall.
Well, I don't even count that first one, because it's literally, if there's a paragraph from it, I'm exaggerating.
Wow.
Like, I literally, the whole thing it was set in a restaurant. I mean, the whole thing is different. So I don't even count it, but in a way, I'm glad I did it, because I kind of learned how not to write a book doing it, because it was awful, really terrible.
I can't believe it can be as bad as you're saying it is.
Oh, it was awful. I mean, really, it was terrible. So this time I started in 2015. So, and then I got my deal in 2018. So a few years.
Is the book that you got the deal with the one that came out?
Yeah,
Was it? You've not had any edits, so you've not had to change anything.
No, I did, but I mean, when I did a bit of an edit with my agent, and then a bit of an edit with the editors when I got the deal, but they did say that there was less than usual. But I had done so many drafts, to be fair, that that's probably why. So yeah, they did do not loads, but then I'm a bit fanatical with it. I got in a bit of trouble with when you get the proof pages in. You're supposed to just do like, you know, like move the odd comma or look for typos, and I was like, oh no, there's still lots I don't like about this, and I made loads of changes, and I got in a bit of trouble. But I'm glad I did it, because I do think it was better for it.
So they did use the changes.
Yeah, they did. I got in trouble, but I got my own way, so it was okay.
Well, it's worked out. It's worked out beautifully.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I'm a bit. I mean, I'm not a perfectionist, because I'm aware that I can't ever be perfect, but I am a bit sort of obsessive about it. I'm not just like, oh, that'll do. I'm like I never want to let it go type person. So the edits could have gone on forever for my liking.
We've got quite a few more questions here. Just a few people saying they can hear us properly, so that's good.
That's good. We like that. That's useful for an interview.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm so glad you stuck to it. I loved the voice in it. Can I ask if they tried to get you to change the voice? I loved the style of the writing and wondered if people said to smooth it more as it's jarring at times, which I loved. I don't know who that's from. That's quite a long question.
No, it's a good question, that. Thank you, Facebook user. No, my publisher really liked the voice. That's what he liked the most about the novel. So I was never I was never asked to change that. It was, I think, what sold it in the end.
It's fair enough. And the I've been trying. Oh, so no, sorry, I was just reading something then at the same time. Pat Adams Wright has been trying to watch but keeps getting kicked out. So glad that she's back now. And apparently Karen McKinley asked the long question, so thank you, Karen.
Thanks.
So
That's a good question.
I know you've done other writing. Tell the members about the non-fiction things that you've done.
What, like articles and things? Yeah, well, I mean, that's just suddenly when you get published, you just suddenly supposed to be able to write for the Observer and things like that. So it's like, oh, okay. So that was a bit scary. So yeah, so I did an article for the Observer because I suffer with quite severe anxiety and have agoraphobia, which is something that's quite misunderstood. So I wanted to use the opportunity to try and make it a little bit more understood, so that you can read that online. If you Google my name in the Observer, it comes up. And so yeah, so that was really good. And I had people just messaging me from all over the world after that, saying that no one's ever expressed it, because it is something that unless you have had it's quite hard to comprehend, because it's quite illogical in a lot of ways, because people think that agoraphobia, you don't leave the house, and some don't, but most actually do. And so yeah, so that was a really good opportunity. And I have wondered about whether I'd write something about, like, a longer thing about anxiety, a sort of slightly humorous but thing about anxiety in the future. And I've written a couple of other articles and things, and yeah, so that's another branch that seems to be happening, which is quite nice. Something that I didn't think I'd be able to do, but apparently
You can.
Who knew?
Absolutely, it's all about saying yes to the right things, so they say.
Yeah.
So what about before you started writing? What other jobs have you had?
Ooh. Well, I have a business with my ex-boyfriend. We've been doing it for 20 years. And I sell temporary walls for galleries and museums and things. But I've done all sorts. Worked in shoe shops. I worked at Ely Studios for a while, for a record company for a while, all sorts of things. Yeah, I didn't really have a career, because I always wanted to do acting. So I was like, oh, fine, I don't care what I do. I can work in McDonald's because I want to be an actress or whatever. And that didn't go well, as you probably guessed.
But look, that's lucky for us, though. Otherwise, you might not be sat here.
I mean,
Probably
I can't
not.
imagine worse, to be honest. Now I can't believe that's what I wanted to do. The idea of being an actress is completely horrific now I'm older, so I'm glad it didn't go too well.
Well, yeah, on that basis, I'm glad too. So, how long did you envisage writing for? Did you have an age limit in mind, or until you dropped? So, are you going to write forever? The Facebook user, thank you, is asking.
I feel like, are you asking because you know I'm so old or something?
I'm surprised you've had a business for 20 years.
Are you kidding me? Yeah, I mean, that's the one good thing about writing, isn't it? If you can write it, you can go up till any age. So yeah, it's a lot better than if you're an Olympic athlete in that sense. So yeah, it is hard. To be honest, like, when I started writing a book, I'd done sort of courses and stuff and done short stories and things, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll write a novel. And it's hard. I think it's harder than I realised. But then that's what's great about it, because it is hard, but then there's like a real sense of achievement when you're getting it right and you're doing it. And So yeah, no, I'll definitely keep writing. Got a few years in me, hope, touch wood.
So somebody's asking, Facebook user again, so I have no idea who it's from. What do you think of hiring an editor before submitting, and did you?
I didn't know. I think if you can afford it and stuff, I should imagine it's quite a good idea. I did have a mentor for a while, and funny enough, we're back writing together now with my mentor because we became really good friends. But I never had an editor. But I certainly don't think it's a bad idea. But at the same time, you know, I wouldn't want anyone to think you have to have one to get published. I didn't. So if you can afford it, then, you know, I think it's possibly a good idea. The thing is, though, it depends what you're talking about as an editor, because I think the most important thing is a structural edit, because ultimately that's what you need to get right. You need to get the bones of your story right. So I wouldn't bother. I certainly wouldn't bother with like a proofreader or something like that.
Do you have beta readers? Do you have people that always read your book?
No,
Well, that have read your book before it went out?
not really. No, I had a mentor for a while, and so she read most of it, but in like little bits. And then the only other person was my uncle, who helped me. We did do a bit of editing together with him. He's not an editor, but a bit of editing with him. Big baby. So, but I didn't show anyone really. I didn't have any. It wasn't swapping with anyone. I am now with Alison, who is my mentor. Ali Harper, you might know her as, disappeared and run away. So we are swapping and doing bits now, but I didn't with the first one. No, I just sort of went on my gut feeling about it.
While we're on all the people that you work with, we should say hello and thank you to Bethan from
yes.
Is it EDPR? I called it EdPR, and then afterwards I thought surely it's Emma's initials, so maybe it's EDPR.
It's EDPR, I think. Yeah. She's so lovely, Bethan. She's been really lovely to talk to work with, rather. But I mean, my contracts, the Pam contracts, finished with EDPR now, so I'm sort of on my own. But she's still in touch and things about things. Bethan, she's lovely. So yes, thank you, Bethan.
I'm hoping to get her in when she finishes the book she's working on. Hoping to get her in for an interview, so we shall see.
This is a bit gothic, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, sounds really good. Yeah. She's got a great character name, which isn't coming to me, but I might not be allowed to say it at the moment anyway, so that's fine.
Oh right, well don't
we'll not give anything away, but wait with bated breath.
Hoping that she gets a nice deal. She deserves it. She's lovely.
She really is. She's lovely. Kaz has said, no way do you look like you've had a business for 20 years. Were you 4 when you started it? And then she's moved on to, how much of a say did you have in the cover?
I almost had something put in the contract, because like one of the first things is I said I didn't want a woman running away in a Mac. That was my
any particular reason for that? It's not like it's been done before.
Well, I know it was a bit random because I've never seen it, but yeah. So
they do look good though. Can we just put that in before I get threatening messages? No, they do look good.
It's not that the covers aren't good. I just knew that it would misrepresent the book.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's because I think because it's such a thriller, psychological thriller type cover, that I didn't want something that was just too psychological thriller, because like in my first meetings with my editor, he said if someone came to this just expecting a total psychological thriller, they will possibly be disappointed. So we didn't want to go down that road, to have it too obvious as that. So we did I mean, I didn't have any choice in it, but we discussed it was going to be something a little bit more I can't think of the word. It's a bit more. He did say a word, and I forgot what it was. Sorry, but anyway, and then I did really like it. It was a little bit different at first, and I did have input. I said about there was sort of drop things on it, but about putting it on the words and things like that. But I love the cover, and I love the paperback cover, which is the same.
I've not seen the paperback cover.
Yeah, it's got like I've not got it yet because it's not out, but it's the same cover, but they've done it this really great red from behind, and it looks quite punky. It's edgy. I like it.
I'll have to go and have a look for it.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. So I'm really pleased with the cover. But I didn't, you don't get much saying. I didn't pick the name either. It was originally called An Explanation of Love, and they changed the name, which I snuck in. I don't know whether you remember.
I do remember. I do remember.
I'm getting it in somewhere.
Yeah, I can't. I won't say that where it is now, but yeah, we'll talk about that after because I liked that.
Yeah.
Do you know what else I like? I like the fact that there's and I wish I'd written some down as examples. There's some really Mancunian words running through it and phrases, and I can't think for the life of me what they are. I wish I'd written them down.
There is a few scriking.
Scriking, I love that word.
I thought they're going to make me take that out because no one's going to know what that is. They kept it in.
I wonder if non-Northerners know what scriking is.
I don't. Well, I'm not sure if they do. So yeah, there's a few. Well, I mean, I didn't think of them particularly as that. It's just words that I know, but thinking about it, they probably are quite.
It's just funny for me because I read a lot of crime, obviously, and yours and Caroline England, she has a good thread of them running through her book, and I just like that because it is like somebody I know talking. I do not try and posh it up for the interviews for anyone who thinks I might be having a go, which they probably don't. But yeah, I loved that. A good northern phrase or a word or.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I really like, I wanted her to be from Manchester because I don't think there's that many, if something's set in London, they're always from London. They're not usually from Manchester, are they? So I wanted to do that a bit different.
I can see the screen scrolling up at the side of me with more questions. So, somebody said it's crying. Facebook user, tell us who you are. they know that Scriking's crying.
Oh, well done.
and Kaz says, I'm from Lincolnshire originally, so not truly northern as yet. She lives in Yorkshire at the minute. I have no idea what that is. Well, somebody's told you, Kaz, it's crying.
There we go. It's 50-50. Some people know, some people don't.
She also wants to know any plans for an audio version of the book.
There is an audio version.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, and it's by Chloe Massey. That's how you pronounce the name. And I've only heard a tiny bit, but she's really good. She does a lot of Val McDermid stuff, and it's really, apparently people have had it, so she does a really good job. So I need to listen to it myself, though. I keep thinking that would be a bit weird.
I was just going to ask, how would you feel listening to your own book? Have you got enough distance from it yet to be able to do it?
I think so. I mean, they sent me a clip through, and then it sort of crashed on my machine. So I was listening to it for about 10 minutes. I was thinking, I was sort of like started enjoying it a bit. So yeah, but I do want to listen to it because that is a weird thing because it's sort of. I don't know. It makes it something else then. It's like it's
like a separation.
Yeah, definitely. So I will do, but it probably will be a bit weird.
I wonder if that's when Constance will completely go out of your head because you'll have heard her.
Yeah, maybe.
Rather than talking to her.
Maybe. Or even better, watching her on Netflix.
I love that idea. Let's petition them. It would be so good to watch it. I'd watch it. Yeah, I'd be glad I'd read the book first, but I'd love to see it on screen.
Yeah, I think it would transfer quite well. It's been quite on quite a lot of my reviews. They say, "When's this going to be on TV?"
Do you have any thoughts for who would play any of the characters?
Oh, like quite a few of my friends have sent me literally like a whole cast list. But the thing is, I don't know. I'm so old, even though you're saying that, I don't know who anyone is. I don't know. She sent me all these actresses, and I don't know. She had sent me pictures, and I kind of recognise them. But there was somebody. I did think. I can never remember her name. Jodie
Comer.
Might be good.
Oh, she's brilliant in everything.
Exactly.
I didn't even realise that she was Liverpudlian.
Yeah.
Until I saw her in an interview. Somebody told me, it might have been my husband, after we'd watched her playing Villanelle.
Yeah, it's quite weird when you see her interviewed, though, because
Yeah.
she's just so many different parts and stuff with it.
It's bizarre. She sat there talking about Killing Eve, and I was just looking at her thinking, no, that's not what I pictured at all. Nothing wrong with being from Liverpool, let me just say. I was just really surprised.
Yeah, well, because I don't think has she ever played anyone from Liverpool?
Not that I've seen, but she could well have done.
She has, but
but she'd be great for Constance.
Yeah. But I don't know. There's a few other people that I don't know that apparently would be really good for it, and I don't know about Samuel. Samuel needs to be quite handsome.
Somebody's just come to mind, but I'm terrible with actors' names. And when you said he needs to be quite handsome, there was somebody that other people think's very, very handsome, and not really my cup of tea. But I can't think what his name is. I'll have to Google it afterwards. I'll figure it out. Yeah, no, terrible.
People think he's handsome, but I don't.
Yeah.
Bit more info.
Yeah, should we move on to the next question? The author chats when someone really knows the author's books are always fab. Oh, thank you, Kaz. I think that was a compliment on us discussing everything. That's nice.
Thank you.
Do you have any authority to remove reviews from Amazon? Because there is one that really annoys me because she gives the ending away. That's from Facebook user. Do not read the reviews.
I raised it with my publishers.
Right. I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, there's a couple that have done that, and one literally says, I really gave me 5 stars, going, I really love the ending, and when blah 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 and blah blah blah, it's like, okay, thanks for the 5 stars, but why would you say that?
Yeah.
But they said that it would get lost, but clearly it hasn't got that lost. So that is annoying.
Yeah, I bet it is. Do you read all of your reviews? I know you've been quite excited. You hit a milestone with them, didn't you? 150. And you were excited.
Now since then.
Say again.
I'm 160 now since.
Fantastic.
Yeah, like loads of people in the debut group, they're all like, we don't look at Goodreads, we don't read reviews, and I just don't know how you have that willpower.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do, but at the same time, I don't get upset at the bad ones, so that probably helps. So if you did get upset, it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, authors always say for every amount of good reviews, one bad review will be the one that they pay attention to.
Yeah.
And some of them are just frustrating, aren't they? There's a problem with the delivery. Well, it's nothing to do with the book. So.
Oh, no, I got a 1-star review a couple of days ago on Goodreads, and when I looked at the thing, the woman had done like about 400 1-star reviews in 2 days. So she was obviously just like a troll 1-starring everyone.
Oh my word.
And you can't do anything about it, and it reduces your rating. And these things like that are quite frustrating.
No, I don't know who that woman is, but she should delete her account. That's disgraceful.
No, exactly. It's not fair to anyone.
No.
So
not at all.
Yes, things like that are really annoying.
But I do
read my reviews.
We have got 5 minutes left.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. That is absolutely flown.
Oh wow! That has gone really quickly.
So I'm going to ask you one of my favourite questions to ask, which is, what are your most memorable moments so far as an author? Now, there must be a lot, but anything that stands out to you?
Oh God, that's a hard question.
You've got quite a few to come, though, haven't you, as well?
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully it's not all completely downhill from now, because that'd be awful. Do you know what, like, even though I think getting like the deal, and I think it would be different if it hadn't been locked down, because I think I'd have that moment where I saw my book in the shop and that kind of thing. So I think it's been altered by that. But just getting an agent, getting a deal, it's like, it feels like it's impossible. It virtually is, to be fair. So that's like a real high. And then there's lots. It's like it really is a roller coaster. The whole thing. It's like, some days it's like, and then it's just something exciting happens, and I can't remember what the exciting things are, but I'm sure there definitely have been them. There definitely have been lots of exciting good things. And Ruth Jones gave me an amazing quote on the front.
I've got it.
And
here, so
that's
just
a real big.
If you can see it, one of the best books I've ever read from Ruth Jones.
Yeah,
so quite a nice thing to have on the front of your book.
So that was definitely a high. Yeah, so I mean hopefully there will be more to come. I'm hoping.
I should hope there will be. You want to give us one final recap, just before we go? Show off the cover. Give us a final recap for the members that haven't read it yet.
Okay, so it's If I Can't Have You, and it's about a young woman called Constance Little, and she has left Manchester for London after her mother's death, and she starts an affair with the doctor at the medical practice where she works, and when he ends it, that's quite significant that he ends it, she can't let the relationship go, and it's her descent into obsession until she basically becomes a stalker. So yeah, so I think I always think that the book works on slightly two levels. So it is psychological thriller, but it's also a character led psychological thriller.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got about a minute and a half. I'm going to ask you about your favourite authors. Are there any? Kaz calls them your shut up and take my money authors, the ones that you just buy regardless of what they publish.
This is like when boys ask you what your favourite music is on dates. I hate this question because I don't really have one. My reading is so eclectic, so I don't have one. I can't end on that. That's terrible.
Tell me about a book that you read recently that you enjoyed.
What have I read recently? I read a member of my debut group, Stephanie Scott, her book, which I can't remember the name. Obviously, that's really bad. Please don't go off yet until it comes to me. What is left is yours. Something like that. I'm so sorry, Stephanie.
I have put you on the spot. I apologise.
Sorry, but so that's that you guys will like that because it's like a literary thriller crime book, but a true crime that happens. So, and I've been a bit weird during lockdown, Marie. I have read things, but I've found it really difficult. You've been reading loads because you've had to, but I have found it really hard to concentrate. So I haven't been reading that much.
Funny thing is, even though I have had to read, I've really enjoyed everything that I've read.
Oh, well,
I'm just finding less time to read now I'm back at work. But yeah, it's not a chore reading our members' books, which is lovely.
No, I should imagine you've got access to some brilliant stuff.
Absolutely. Yours is one of them.
Oh, thank you.
Will you come back to us when book 2 is ready?
You might not want me for book 2 because I don't think it would be crimey enough for you.
Yeah, but you're still a crime author.
Okay. Then yes, I will. Then yes, I'd love to. Thank you very much for having me. It's been fun.
Well, thank you for joining us, and to all the members and admins as well. Thank you for your questions.
Brilliant questions. Thank you.